Hypocrisy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law Splaining the Interwebs. I'm your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. How's it going? Jeez, Pete. This mic arm is pissing me off. I got to change I have a better shock mount that I need to use. I've been using this one too long, and it's too heavy. This doesn't concern you. Hey, what's up, guys? How are we today? I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well. Welcome back to the show, or whatever. If that is your real name, that doesn't make sense either. We got some stuff to cover today. A little bit of guns, a little bit of magazines, but not the kind with the pictures. You know what I'm saying? Go along with the guns. And we've got some really interesting, something I had no idea was even being contemplated, happened with the Federal Trade Commission. I mean, I know people have always been advocating for it, but I didn't know it was actually like maybe in the works. Federal Trade Commission has just issued a 570-page rule eliminating non-competes. Okay. Now look, I don't like non-compete agreements. I really don't, but they are just part of contract law that exists. They are the thing that you can agree to. And look, I know it's an employment contract, so you could negotiate it away. Most people can't negotiate away a non-compete. Like, that's kind of the point of them, is that they're taking this person. They want to invest in this person. They want to develop a work product with this person that they will own. They don't want this person then take the investment that the company put in them and just give it away to another company or start their own. They don't want that, right? That's reasonable. Hiring a new employee costs a fortune, especially for a larger company. And employees can very quickly have access to certain secrets or certain sort of trade property of the company. And if they get access to that really quickly, like a client list, for example, that a rep who works in an area for a financial institution maybe has worked up building this book of business, and they have this client list and they have all this information about these clients, including like what their risk tolerance is, what their desires are. It's a valuable piece of information for another financial company. They've got a great book of business. They grab it and go. That's value that they are taking from the one company and giving to another. Now, if you put yourself in a situation that I was in a couple years ago, I was asked to take over an Edward Jones branch in the area. One of the Edward Jones representatives was retiring. I had previously been Series 7 licensed. It would be really easy to get back into the financial saddle if I wanted to. As a local Edward Jones representative, I'd be running the office straight out the gate, and I would be inheriting the book of business from the prior financial associate, right? That book of business, I wouldn't have created. I would have just grabbed. So I got to grab that book of business and then run off to a different company with that, or even started my own financial or insurance-based company, and then brought those clients in. I could have sold that information in theory. I didn't take the job. So they wanted me to suspend my law license, and I was like, no, thanks. I just worked really hard on this, so no thanks. But that's fine. That just wasn't, that was for me the nail in the coffin on that one. But in theory, you could get in and have all this access to information from these clients that someone else built, and then you could take that and profit from it and also damage the company. That's what non-competes are for. But non-competes have other uses, and just because they're ostensibly for one thing doesn't mean that they don't get misused and abused, just like a human trafficked child, for example. Like that's how these things always go. So the FTC says very unpopular thing is going on, and also the FTC right now is run by commies because it's the FTC. It's always run by commies, but that's going on, and they say, well, we have this thing, we can actually eliminate this by rule maybe, and make everybody happy. And it might be the right move, but can the FTC even do this? Like, can they just make a provision of a contract illegal without an act of the legislature? I don't know. So we're going to look at that and talk about it. It's kind of I didn't see this coming. I didn't know this was on the menu in any immediate way. And all of a sudden, Linda Khan is out here just doing it. She's like doing it well. And she does this thing and just eliminates a provision of contract law. No big deal. So that was weird. Very strange. And I don't know if it's legal for the FTC to do that, because it doesn't seem like a delegated power under the laws that established the FTC, but maybe it is. Maybe it is. So who knows? Who knows? We'll be talking about that. Washington State, the magazine ban is still in. We talked about this a little bit ago. It was right before I got sick. So a little over a week ago, we talked about this. Washington State banning high-capacity magazines. That was struck down at the trial court level. Judge says, no, it seems to go against Bruin, the Supreme Court jurisprudence. So no, you can't ban high-capacity magazines. And then that question was getting kicked up to the state Supreme Court to see if they would stay the order pending a final resolution on the case, which could be months to years away. And if that's what they end up doing, which is what they did, the Supreme Court of the state of Washington today did go ahead and stay the order, which means that the high-capacity magazine ban will remain in effect during the pendency of the appeal process for the case. And we'll talk about why, and we'll read just how stupid some of the lines from the justices in Washington State are. We'll check that out, I guess. I don't know. I also have listed in the title, Guns Are Cool. One, because guns are cool. Two, because there's this guy in New York. And he acquired basically parts to do some CNC milling and creation of his own gun, finishing out 80% lowers and stuff like that. And out of nowhere, like RKO, from the top ropes, comes along the New York government, and they charge him with a shitload of crimes. And he was just convicted of it. So trying to spread the word a little bit on that one, because that's kind of important. And the judge, I believe that was the case where the judge says the Second Amendment doesn't exist in my courtroom. So that's nice. But yeah, that's what we're going to talk about mainly today. Of course, the Trump hush money trial continues, and we all are sitting here wondering yet again why a perfectly enforceable contract. I'll give you money, you shut your whore mouth. Like, that's a perfectly enforceable contract. That's always been an enforceable contract ever since. Never mind. It was an uncouth joke. It actually really wasn't. Ever since Lot turned that bitch to salt. But anyway, that's always been an enforceable contract under the common law. There are certainly unenforceable contracts. Like, you cannot contract for romantic encounters, for example. Like, the court won't enforce them. Like, in the context of a marriage, like, a guy can't be like, all right, I'm going to give you an allowance of $450 a week or whatever, and you're going to give me 8 blowjobs a day. Like, they can't do that. The court will not enforce that contract. So they don't get into those types of things. So there are things that involve prostitutes, money, and contracts that the court won't enforce. But telling one to be quiet and paying her for it is certainly not off the table. And that's effectively what is alleged to have occurred. Now, it's all the other stuff around it that they're trying to make illegal. That is the center of the case. So that case is going on. A guy named Pecker testified first because, of course, the first testimony we would get in that case is from a guy named Pecker. I never question if God is real, because that stuff happens all the time. So that's, that's out there. There's the Trump Supreme Court immunity case. The oral arguments were heard today. I thought about actually just streaming those, but I might do that either tomorrow or I might do that for a daytime stream. I'm not sure. Kind of depends on what's going on. and what my schedule looks like over the next couple of days. But I really do want to talk about the oral in that case, which is interesting because you get a bunch of online commentators saying, well, this is what the court's likely to do. They may be right. They may be wrong. It's always hard to say why a justice is asking a question. But the reason they ask the questions are important. You just may not ever know what it is. I want to go through that oral argument. I think it's probably about an hour. I think Kurt went through it today. It's probably about an hour long. And I want to go through and talk about it and kind of look at the different things. It seems like, according to the reporting, the liberal justices seem skeptical, whatever that means. They seem skeptical of the idea that Trump would have blanket immunity. And I think everybody should be skeptical of the idea that Trump would have absolute immunity from all acts as president. However, I do think something mirroring the civil immunity would be a place where we might find a ruling. Just because I don't think it's plausible to get to absolute immunity doesn't mean that I think it's the wrong thing, though. As some of you may remember, the more and more I looked at that and the more my thinking through the scenario went, like, yeah, I actually am really having trouble finding an act of the president to be having trouble finding any act of the president, even in his personal capacity, to be not an act of the president. Now, I know there are distinguishable things, right? Like, I know that obviously there are things that you do for yourself, even when you hold a title. So if President Trump goes in and rubs one out to Stephen Hawking's death, for example, like, that's probably an official act of the president. If Trump eats Kentucky Fried Chicken and he gets original recipe and not extra crispy, that's an act for himself. And so I know that, but that also might be an act as a president. And what we need to do is have some way to determine and discern whether it's a presidential act or not. I think impeachment really is the answer, though. Like, I think that's the way we should handle this, because if the act is sufficiently important and impactful to determine whether or not it's an official act of the president, that means it's dire enough to charge the president with a felony, for example. So why not just impeach the president? Like, if it's that important, we need to impeach him. If it's not that important, why are we bothering charging a former president with anything? Because the current rule du jour, right? It's not an actual rule, but it's sort of the handbook guide is they won't indict a sitting president. The DOJ won't. So if they won't indict a sitting president, they'll only indict a former president. Then whatever act they do that merits prosecution has to be sufficiently bad to merit prosecution after the fact. If it's that bad, shouldn't it just be impeachable in the first place? That's kind of my philosophical approach to it these days. I'm open to, different concepts and approaches to that, but that right now, that's where I'm sitting. And I can see absolute immunity prior to impeachment being just a reasonable way to keep interference with the office of the president at a minimum. And then all of those things can be sorted out later. Again, if it's sufficiently bad, impeach him. Just get him the fuck out. We're so scared to do this. The founders gave us all these tools with the Constitution, like the amendment process, like slavery, and like the presidential recall called impeachment. They gave us these tools to do these things, and we act like we can't do them. Like it's the biggest thing ever. I mean, we've only impeached 4 presidents, I think, something like that. 2 times for me, 2 times, 2 Trump impeachment. We've only impeached something like 4 presidents. We're really sparing with the impeachment power. And I don't think it's because presidents have not made unpopular moves. Similar with the amendment process. We've amended the Constitution 28 times, which sounds like a lot, except it really isn't. The first 10 amendments all happened like at the same time. And actually, the 28th Amendment was proposed at the same time, roughly as the first 10. It just took forever to get ratified. So we really are hesitant to modify the Constitution in a permanent way through the amendment process, but we're perfectly happy having 9 robed weirdos fondle each other and then spit out an opinion that effectively creates a constitutional amendment just without the name and the officiality through stare decisis that will last until they decide otherwise. And we're fine with that, but we're really hesitant to engage in the amendment process. And why? We're sitting here and we worry about things like originalism and textualism. We're like, wow, we got this text, and what did they mean at this time? What did they mean at this time? Is it really that important? Like, I think so if you're going to analyze what the law is, but if we're having discussions about what the law should be or what the country should be or how the Constitution should be worded, why are we worried about what people thought back then? Because we can amend it to change it to how we think now. And we've done it. And when we do it, it makes sweeping, important changes in our country, some good, some bad. But we have these tools. We don't ever want to use them because using them is scary. It's turmoil. But our founders didn't envision like a peaceful, lasting constitution, like scrawled in stone and worshipped as sacrosanct. I think it was Jefferson who basically said we should probably have an entirely new one in 30 years or so with all the amending that would go on. Then Marbury versus Madison occurred. So anyway, we can talk through some of that stuff. I just did, but those are the topics that I've got mainly tonight. I have some others too. Don't worry. I have others, and anything can always come up at any point, but that's the main stuff. So hope you're down for it. Hope you're up for it. Hope your chromosomes are in the right places. Hope your bowling fingers are polished and lubed, because you got to get them in that finger hole so you can throw the ball down the lane. Billdozer74 says, sup, y'all? Just got done with my second live stream here on Rumble. Had a blast and hope I informed and entertained those who watch. Also, Nick is gay and lame. Thanks, Billdozer. What were you talking about, buddy? What am I drinking tonight? I have 2 drinks tonight. This is a new one I've never seen before. This is Templeton Midnight Rye. So I like Templeton in general. This thing's pretty good. But it's from Iowa. Anyway, yeah, I've never had it. I've never seen it. I like Templeton whiskey, but this is a rye. So I'm enjoying that. And then, of course, I have my traditional sweet tea, cream, vanilla. Sweet tea, cream, vanilla, and ice for non-liquor drinks. Wolfer says, I prefer Redemption. Redemption Rye is very good. I like it. I like it quite a bit. Let's see. Billdozer, what were you talking about? Are you in here? You still here? Or did you fuck off, do another live stream? Be like, I'm so cool. Oh yeah, I didn't put him in the title, but Harvey Weinstein did get his New York conviction overturned and set for, he's subject to retrial on the issues. And the reasons he got it overturned are actually like good reasons or whatever, but nobody likes that because he's a piece of garbage. And he is. Like he is. Look at him. He's gross. Which is what I thought all of the models would have said before he pulled out his weird eggplant and started dry rubbing it on them. Natclo 2.0 says, there's a certain sadness I see in your eyes, Mr. Ricada. Stop coming on to me. I hope you find one day what you are truly searching for. Yes, me too. Me too. But what I'm truly searching for right now is a Lagavulin 12. And then there's actually a Lagavulin 27. I saw several years ago at a liquor store in Apple Valley, Minnesota. But it was $1,000. And I've never spent $1,000 on a bottle of whiskey. But I really want to try it. So I hope I can find what I'm looking for too. Aisha Frazier, 51 months of membership. How you doing, girl? Been away for a while. How you been? Oh, that's a long story. That's a long story with a short, abrupt ending. That's coming soon. I'm just kidding. It's not. That was darker than I thought it would be. Glad to see you, Aisha. I hope you're doing well. Cheesy Tyrion says, haven't had my ear to the ground. Will a painting stream happen? If not, is it internet BS or is it still a scheduling problem? It's literally a scheduling problem. I haven't talked to Az or Sargon in a long time. They're huge on my list to talk to. I just haven't been around to talk to them or really anybody else. Speaking of talking to people, I hope you guys enjoyed the show with Kurt last night. I love Kurt. He's great in his way. And when I get him on the show, I just want to talk to him about regular stuff. Like, I really want to talk to him about constitutional issues because that's what he's so good at. But I really want to talk to him about regular stuff because he's so interesting. His perspective is so wildly different than mine on all these things that his answers always make me happy. But yeah, he's a really, again, I complimented him yesterday and I meant it. If there's a guy you want on your team to just say, hey, like this is a current jurisprudence on these constitutional issues. Like, Kurt's a great dude for it. He's got just, an eidetic memory almost on those issues. And he's usually well read on them. Even when we disagree in the principles behind these things, I pretty much inherently trust him on his citations and references, even when I'm right and he's wrong, which is always. Since he's not here, I can trash talk him. Just kidding. It was a fun show for me. We will have some more guests coming next week as well. So yeah. We wish Kurt has $1 million. I hope he makes $2 million. All right, let's get into these fucking topics. Oh, wait, we're gonna start with a really important topic that is close, near and dear to the channel. Involves someone who I've had various interactions with that were confusing and baffling, and especially as I look back on them, wistful. But it's a woman named Sydney Watson. Oh my God, I just realized I have not been following that lawsuit against the Blaze and Elijah Schaffer and all that shit. I need to follow up on that and see where that's going. But Sydney Watson, disregard all the lawsuit and the Ralph drama and all that stuff where she's like, was super nice to me, but then said some weird stuff somewhere. I don't know. I don't actually care. I was just like, oh, like, she seemed nice. I didn't get to talk to her too much, like face to face, but our messaging and stuff was really nice. And she just wasn't really around when I was there. She had the first time I went down to the show, she had a migraine and wasn't on the show. Instead, it was Zuby. And Zuby, as a shorter, well-built black man, does not make a Sydney Watson replacement who is like a tall, slender white woman. Very weird. But Zuby was cool as shit. And we had a good show. And then the next time I went down there, she was there. Sydney was there, but I didn't get to talk to her much. Very, very brief interactions before and after the show. And that was the day I killed the You Are Here podcast as their final guest. I was the reaper of that show, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. But then the lawsuit came out, and there was weird stuff in that lawsuit, and I was like, I don't know what's going on here. And frankly, like, I don't care. Like, she's fine. But the main thing with Sydney that I'm talking about today has nothing to do with any of that. It's actually when she got wedged between two fatzos on an airplane. And anybody who's been on an airplane has been wedged between two fatzos, even if you flew the airplane yourself. So after complaining about her seat between two obese people on a plane, between two obese people, it's like that Zach Galifianakis show, like Between Two Ferns. It's just like Between Two Verns. Both of those guys are fat. These were women, and they're plump, we'll say. A passenger receives compensation. So Sydney actually, so here's Sydney, again, tall, very thin woman. When I saw her, I was like, you are exceedingly thin. So you can see her picture here. She has legs that are like not the size of a Volvo. And what she's got next to her, actually, these are not supposed to be checkerboard pattern pants on this thigh that's next to her. I don't know if you guys have seen, these are actually just gray pants, but the thigh inside them has so stretched them out that the fibers that make it gray are just an alternating white and black pattern. And those fibers are now stretched out to Texas-sized patterns running down the pant leg. Gross. Gross. So there was that. And then there was another large one on the other side of her as well. A tight squeeze in the skies. These subheadings are pretty funny. A tight squeeze in the skies. Oh, right. Between these thighs. So airline response, she got apologies and a compensation. But this is the thing. These airlines are catering to these fat people. And the reason they're fat is because people literally have catered to them. Because you can't walk and get their own food. They can't do that. So when you cater to them, you bring the food to them, and that's why they keep blimping up. But look at it. Okay, I know you guys have been on a plane. Some of you have been on a plane before, right? And so Sydney is the average, not average. She's very thin. So I wouldn't, and she's very tall. Like she's above average height and probably below average weight for Americans. But she's Australian, which means she's definitely below average weight. Above average height, I'm not sure. But if you sit in the plane and you're small, right? Like she's a small something. And look at this seatbelt. Look at the seatbelt. So her stomach is here at the bottom of the frame. Like you can't see it because like when she takes a picture going down, like her stomach doesn't bulge into it. This other person does. Their stomach, not only does their stomach like flop into the picture, but the seatbelt is like grotesquely over the stomach mound on the side here. Seatbelts are supposed to go across the hips. They utilize the structure, the bone structure of the pelvis and the hip bones to restrain you in an accident. If you actually have a seatbelt over your stomach, your big fat fucking gullet, like what you end up doing is you get internal injuries. You get ruptured organs that now, if you have enough adipose tissue like this person, you probably can't rupture an organ at all because they're so far down. It's like finding the mantle beneath the crust of the earth or whatever. But you cannot have a seatbelt like over your fat fucking stomach. That's not where they go. It goes under your stomach roll across your hips because that's where the structure of your body is strong. And that's where that strap will, meet bone rather than soft tissue. And in high speed impacts, you can actually have the seatbelt can like turn and it can either rug burn or it can saw through parts of you if there's not something firm stopping it, like an erection. So this giantess next to her is folding over into her space and her like seatbelt is literally laying on Sydney's leg. That's hideous. The smell coming through this picture is offensive. And there's another one next to her and there's so much denim. Oh God. So the compensation was this. So the airline sent Sydney an email. Oh, thanks. Which she shared with her followers, apologizing for her discomfort and offering a $150 voucher for future travel. It's probably in Australian dollars too, which is even worse. It's like, oh, thanks. I can buy a snack box on my next flight. And maybe a non-alcoholic apple juice. So, here she is. These are the pig. Oh, God. Ugh, ew. You're stuck between that. God, it's like, it's like being a raisin in a fat guy's belly button. Oh, look at it. Look at all his skin. Look at that. Ew. She's trying to leave Australia, but it's right here looking at her. Ew. It's two giant people. And they want to cater, like, they're like, well, what we should do is give fat people two seats for the price of one. I'm like, no, give me 2 seats for the price of one. Because me and anybody else on earth weighs less than this person's arm flab. Oh my God. Me and this person weigh less than this person. That's how fat this person is. Like you can put another skinny person next to them and they actually weigh less. Disgusting. Ugh. And you sit next to someone like that. Look, I know some of you are large, but this isn't large, man. This is large like a turkey versus a pigeon. Like, this is, the folds stink. You can't scrub them out. There's not enough toothpaste to clean this person's skin flaps. You need like Comet and a toilet bowl scrubby. And it makes that sound and you know it. You're like, oh, it's probably rubbed raw. And you're like, oh, wait, no, it's already rubbed raw because it's been slapping against other skin for years. Oh, God. The toilet brush is an improvement. Oh, call me Ajax. That powder goes all over there. Icky. Oh, I do not like it, Sam. I do not like flying between two hams. Dead fish cheese spread says some dude still wants to bang it. No, multiple. Because every fold is a new adventure, right? Like, gross. They're all sweaty. I do not. Yeah. Normally, I'm sitting next to someone who's small on a plane. And if there are 3 seats across, I'm sitting next to someone who's small and someone who's big. Because I'm sitting next to Lady Raggeds, who's small, and then the other person is invariably huge. Because that's how America is these days. Because of Wendy's. Fuck you, Dave Thomas. I hope you die of angina. You probably already did, you angina. All right. I just wanted to give an update on that because that was like a news story. Let's go, oh my God, someone sat next to a fat person on a plane. Let's go to the news. Like, I get it, kind of, but I don't. Like, why was that a news story? Like, Sydney Watson made a video about it. It's like, oh yeah, I totally got like stuck between 2 fat people. I was like, welcome to every time I check out at Walmart. And then like she gets a news story about it, which is cute, I guess. But she got $150 travel vouchers. So next time she flies between 2 fatsos. Why wasn't she flying first class? Weird. She's tall. That's why I say that. Like, did you see, real quick, we're going to be off this story in just a second. My femurs are longer than hers. It's uncomfortable sitting in coach. Like, because I cannot, on American Airlines or United, I think, I can't keep my legs straight. I have to be spread eagled so my manly musk can just like permeate the entire cabin. That has to happen automatically because my legs do not fit straight forward unless I'm in the exit row. Now it's like going in the exit row, but normally I just sit first class because it's nicer and I get dinner, and Delta has short ribs, which are good. But she's in this seat, like this hurts your legs. Like your knees are pressed up against the back. You know, the person in this seat's fat is actually bulging the seat backwards too, because they always do. And you're like, sir, can you please, like, your seat back is supposed to be up before the plane takes off. And they're like, I can't. And I sat down and just leaned back. Like that clanging sound was the fucking lock breaking and the seat just automatically reclining forever. Gross. You know, I've come to the conclusion that I might need help. I don't like fat people so much that just the mere thought of being on an airplane reminds me of being in a Pringles can full of lard. K to the Swiss, thanks for the super chat, buddy. There's nothing there to say. Maybe there was nothing to say. Or maybe he's flying on a plane right now and his teeth are stuck in a fat person's rolls. They're just like, that's how you order ginger ale and Coach. All right. I just want to give that little update on Sydney Watson. The only little thing about that story. Should we start with, you know what? I'm going to start with a different topic as well. We're not going off the script. Fuck it. We're doing it live. Here we go. This is local to Minnesota, so don't get too bored. What was that sound? That's what happens when you open your mouth and like a fat person's blub just comes in there and you're like trying to do anything. You can't, it's just fully in there. It's just gross. Ugh. Here we go. So this is from Minnesota. It's a local story, but it's perfect because this isn't a Minnesota story. This is an every state story at the end of the day. Minnesota State Senator Nicole Mitchell, charged with burglary, says she was checking on a loved one with Alzheimer's. So, go away. This is up in Detroit Lakes. So this is way on the northern end of Minnesota, which I would call the ass end of Minnesota, but that's what I call every end of Minnesota. Matt Grendel says, look, I'm 50 pounds overweight on top of being square framed, but I make myself uncomfortable to be as small as I can. I never cross the arm rest line. Fuck you, Nick, as always. No, you're a champion. You're the overweight person I would sit next to and share my little what are those things called? Biscotti cookies with them. Like, here, have this little vanilla graham flavored thing that crumbles in my mouth like drywall, but they're so good. The planes keep giving them 70 years strong. Can't be wrong. What happened to peanuts? We used to thin the herd on planes, just peanut allergies. Here's some of those planters. Open it up, half the plane just they all die. Wow. We can throw out their carry-on luggage now, and my shit can go in the overhead bin again. Thanks. The worst thing is someone in anaphylaxis from a peanut allergy, swollen up and puffed up like a goddamn marshmallow, is still smaller than the fat people who ride in A Minnesota state senator now faces charges in connection to a burglary at a Detroit Lakes home earlier this week. On Tuesday, the Becker County Attorney's Office charged 49-year-old Senator Nicole Mitchell from Woodbury, Minnesota, with first-degree burglary. Now, couple things. Burglary does not mean theft necessarily. Burgling is entering an occupied residence with the intent to take something from it. Or unoccupied residence, not with the intent to take something from it, with the intent to commit another act that is felonious. There you go. Burgling. So, a lot of people associate it automatically with theft. It doesn't have to be theft. Like if you go in and commit some sort of assault or something like that, you can still burgle. Burgle. To give you an idea, Detroit Lakes and Woodbury are like 5 hours apart. These are not close things. So way up in Detroit Lakes is up near Canada, up near North Dakota, near Fargo or whatever. That whole area that exists. That's Detroit Lakes. Woodbury is on the east side, the northeast side of St. Paul. So you got a pretty big distance here that she has traveled. According to police, officers were called at about 4:45 a.m. Monday to residents off Granger Road and Long Avenue after the homeowner called 911 to report a burglary in process. I'm being burgled. Police say Mitchell was found inside, arrested and booked into Becker County Jail. Oh, that's cool. She later denied the allegations in a statement to her state senator's Facebook page. And if you have not seen this woman complaining about the shrinking volume of barbecue sauce packets at your local McDonald's, I would just ask you to go to McDonald's tomorrow. You'll find her. You can hear her breathing in between her teeth before the next paragraph spills out about the declining quality of cat food. Like, oh my God, this woman is infuriating just looking at. She burgled her stepmother's home to get deceased father's things, the charges say. My dead dad wanted these. I'm going to burgle the shit out of you. According to the criminal complaint, the home Mitchell is accused of burgling was her stepmother's. Stepmother called police to report someone had broken into her home. When officers arrived, the suspect, later identified as Mitchell, ran into the basement. I'm innocent. Right? Like Mitchell was wearing black clothing and a black hat when officers found her in the basement, according to the complaint. Maybe she should have Trudeau'd that shit up and they wouldn't have found her. She could have just closed her eyes and kept her mouth shut in the dark. They found a flashlight, could have been a flashlight, which would have been funnier. Flashlight with a sock on it and a black backpack nearby. Okay, somebody help me. Somebody help me. Why are you putting a sock over flashlight? Is that like your makeshift diffuser? So it's not like a beam, but it's just like a little lit up thing. Like she get it from her husband. Did it have a bunch of crusties? It's like, oh my God, it's like a planetarium in here. Oh no, she turns it. It's like, oh look, maps of different constellations. That one's Spermicus. That one's creamy. There's the Milky Way. It's just one giant streak across the fucking ceiling. Ew. The backpack contained 2 laptops, a cell phone, Tupperware. Well, when she's done with half of the laptop, she's got to put the rest of the Tupperware, and identifying documents for Mitchell. Investigators said Mitchell told them her father had recently died. Well, yeah, he probably saw you. And her stepmother wouldn't talk to Mitchell or other family members. I was just trying to get a couple of my dad's things because you wouldn't talk to me anymore, Mitchell said to her stepmother during her arrest, according to the complaint. Let me give you some legal advice. If you're burgling and you're being arrested, do not say, I just was breaking into your house to grab some stuff because you didn't talk to me. Not a good one. That kind of looks like an admission. That kind of looks like an admission that you should not have made in the middle of the arrest. That will be used against you. The items Mitchell sought were, quote, which means she told him, look, I was just after pictures, a flannel shirt, some ashes, and other items of sentimental value, the complaint states. Like all of his cash. All those hundreds were very special to me. I'm just making that up. I don't know if there were any hundreds. Probably not in Detroit Lakes. Mitchell allegedly gave the same motive to police, also saying she had just gotten into the house. You can look, it took time with the crowbar. It took a while. Clearly, I'm not good at this, she said, according to investigators, adding, I know I did something bad. Again, not a great statement while being arrested or interrogated after. Like, look, I'm not good at this. I'm just trying to get this stuff in all black. And I know I did something bad, but like I'm just trying to get my dad's stuff and his ashes. To be fair, it doesn't say his ashes. Whose ashes are you after, lady? Investigators said Mitchell got into the house through a basement window, as one does when you're not burgling, right? Like when you're not burgling, you go in through a basement window. You definitely don't go in through a door. Let's see. Police questioned Mitchell about one of the laptops found in her bag, which, when turned on, had the stepmother's name on it. She said her stepmother had given it to her, which the stepmother denied. Whose laptop is that? Oh, it's totally mine. When we open this up, it says your stepmother's name. She gave it to me. Mitchell made her first court appearance Tuesday morning, where she was released from custody with conditions. Those conditions include, among others, remain law-abiding and making all future court appearances. Her next court hearing set for June 10th. Very standard release conditions on your own recognizance. Mitchell says she was checking on family member with Alzheimer's, not stealing, which is weird because that's not what she said at the time. Right? Instead, she said, I was just trying to get some stuff. In a Facebook post on Tuesday, Mitchell denied stealing anything and said she entered the home out of concern for an ailing family member. Mitchell said the incident had been a true tragedy for her family and says she hopes it can return to being a private matter. She also thanked friends and colleagues of both parties for their support. Why would anybody do this? Like so many families, mine is dealing with the pain of watching a loved one decline due to Alzheimer's and associated paranoia. Maybe she's talking about herself. Over the weekend, I learned of medical information which caused me grave concern. I prompted me to check on that family member. This is her dead father. Remember that. Like she actually went because her father died. It's like, oh, I guess that medical information does cause me concern. Better go check on him. I entered a home I have come and gone from countless times in the past 20 years, where my son even once had his own room. Even once had, does not now. Unfortunately, I startled this close relative, exacerbating paranoia, and I was accused of stealing, which I absolutely deny. He went in through a basement window. Thank you to all my friends and colleagues of both parties for the kind words of support and for trusting my character even before I had a chance to respond. Whoops. This has been a true tragedy for our family. My hope is it can return to being a private matter. They spoke with Mitchell's attorney by phone. He said he advised her not to resign. Oh, that's good. Well, why would she though? Is the DFL going to kick her out? Are they going to kick her out of the fucking Senate? On Thursday, Mitchell released an updated statement through her attorneys. Oh, this should be good. Quote, while I cannot elaborate more at the advice of counsel, I can say I'm extremely disappointed that the complaint lacks the complete information of the incident, including important context. For example, that I've known the other person involved in this incident since I was 4 years old and deeply care about her. Okay, let me just say something. You can burgle someone you know. It's really easy to do because burglary doesn't care if you know the person, no matter how long it is. And knowing someone doesn't mean like you're automatically on good terms either. Like burglary is burglary. I love that. I just love the way these people think. Remember, these people make these rules. They make these rules. They decide that these rules are good and they decide what the punishments are. So everything she does and is punished for, she endorses. Aisha Frazier says, if you broke into a house, unscrewed the shower head, put red Kool-Aid powder in it, and screwed it back on, does that qualify as burglaring? Maybe, actually. I would not do that. I would not recommend it. Cover Big Guy 911 says, I really don't think she was just going to stop at the burglary. There's a high non-zero chance she doesn't kill her stepmom while she is there. You don't do that planning for a simple burg. Mom is lucky she woke up. Well, you know, she has Alzheimer's or whatever, according to this weirdo lady. So she probably would have just forgotten that she was dying. No big deal. All right. It saddens me that some people are attempting to use a tragic family situation to score political points. Burglary isn't a tragic family situation unless burglary happens to your family tragically. But burglary that you do to another family member isn't tragic. That's just you being an asshole. And I am grateful to those who believe, as I always have, that everyone should be allowed the due process guaranteed by our Constitution. Oh God. I would love to spend the time to go through and find all the places where this woman definitely didn't give a fuck about due process. Because congressmen and women typically don't. Due process is a hurdle for them. Ducky Fuzzer says, Afro Man just dropped a new song, Hunter Got High. Well, that's probably good. That's probably good. Here we go. I am confident that a much different picture will emerge when all of the facts are known. I am as committed to my constituents today as the day I was elected, which is why I was burglaring in the Detroit Lakes, not in Woodbury, including important work for veterans and children. And I do not intend to resign. Oh my God. Oh. If every stepped on child by a politician in the name of their own safety, politician's own safety, were stacked end to end, Joe Biden would sniff all of them. Oh, he had like a teleprompter incident today. Yesterday, I don't know. Does he talk? Days? Basically, he's like, something and I love you. Pause. Oh, God bless it. There he is. Like, it's amazing. Why do these people need teleprompters? That'd be a fun gag. Maybe we should do Biden teleprompter gaffes on Rumble, and I'll just read whatever people send in as Biden reading the teleprompter. That'd be funny. Might not. It wouldn't be funny. I shouldn't say things would be funny because they won't. But I might do it anyway. So here we go. Lawmakers speak out, calling for consequences. Calling for consequences. You're the state fucking Senate. I'm pretty sure you can just vote to remove her from the goddamn chamber. Mitchell is currently serving her first term as a state senator. A spokesperson for the Senate DFL caucus said in a statement Monday they're aware of the situation, but wouldn't comment. On Tuesday, Senate Majority Leader Aaron Murphy said the allegations against Senator Mitchell are upsetting. She's upset. Quote, the behavior alleged is far outside the character she has established in the Senate and in her distinguished career in the military. Oh, God. Come on, no. What's this dummy's name? Mitchell. Fucking stupid. Nicole Mitchell. Let's see what her cool military career was. Nicole Mitchell, Minnesota. Nicole Lynn Mitchell is an American politician, military officer, and meteorologist. Oh my God, it's so many things I don't trust at once. She represents the cities of Woodbury and Maplewood in the Minnesota Senate. Mitchell is also a lieutenant colonel in the Air National Guard, commanding the 126th Weather Flight because she's a meteorologist, right? Prior to serving in public office, she was a news media meteorologist. Prior to being served at the donut bar, probably. She worked at the Weather Channel from 2004 to 2011 and with Al Jazeera America from 2013 to 2016. What's the weather like? Let's go to our correspondent, Nicole Mitchell, who'll be doing a cover of Drowning Pool. Let the bodies hit the floor. Jesus Christ. After sometimes a freelance meteorologist at CBS News. Wait a minute. Hold on. What's a freelance meteorologist? Look, guys, it's sunny out. Can you pay me? Probably going to get cloudy later. Am I right? How do you freelance meteorologize? You're like looking at the Weather Channel like, come on, guys, give me an update. What's that predictive fucking radar doing? Looks like that fog's going to continue for 38 minutes. I really don't know what a freelance meteorologist does. A street meteorologist? Stormy with a chance of jihad? Like, what? Like, seriously, it never occurred to me. Like, I guess they must exist, but it never occurred to me that there's like a struggling group of like beatnik meteorologists out there. Like, they're always wearing the black t-shirts. They got the little hats and they're drinking like big cappuccinos. And they're like, weather patterns like this only happen when a rogue El Nino's around. It's going to be a snowy summer. It's like, why? Like, you just, freelance meteorologist just sounds unemployed to me. Let's see. She's not on staff. No, look, a friend of mine is a former meteorologist. I'm going to ask him. I'm going to be like, can you tell me about freelance meteorology? How does this work? Do you get paid? Do you get paid more or less than homeless people on WIC? Like, what is it? No different than a freelance landscaper. No, it's different. That's different. A freelance landscaper can, like, you know, do a job. Like, they're one-man landscaping jobs. Freelance meteorologists, I mean, they can do a job. It's just why? Why would you have a freelance one? You just have any other one. You can just be like, hey, guys, our weather guy is sick today. Just go to the Weather Channel. Like, honestly, it's all fucking same. The guy who comes on TV doesn't know how to meteorologize anyway. That's why he's handsome. If he wasn't handsome, he wouldn't be on TV. He would have failed meteorology school. Instead, he got a C because meteorology C's get on TV. Meteorology A's never see the light of day because they're fat and ugly and gross, and you wouldn't want to put them on the news. Instead, they're actually doing the work. Like, that's how it goes. I'm going to confirm this with my friend. He's wise. Oh, yeah. Here, I'm on the wiki page for this chick. So let's see. Freelance meteorologist at CBS News. So not only is she a freelance meteorologist, but she's a freelance meteorologist for an organization, which is even weirder. That's less freelance than... What are you? I'm a freelance janitor. For who? Walmart. Yeah, man. Just clean their floors every night. I don't... I don't work for Walmart, though. But like, you only clean Walmart floors? Yeah, I'm a freelance floor cleaner, but for Walmart, though. Ex-bootlegger says she has a body for radio. No, she has a body for sitting in coach next to Sydney Watson. She returned to her home state of Minnesota in 2017 to become a meteorologist for KSTP-TV in the Minneapolis-St. Paul media market. She also appeared on Minnesota Public Radio. In 2022, she was elected to the Minnesota legislature as a state senator for District 47. Military career. She served in the U.S. Air Force Reserve and assigned to the 53rd Weather Reconnaissance Squadron at Keesler Air Force Base, Mississippi. As an aerial reconnaissance weather officer, Mitchell is a lieutenant colonel in the Air National Guard commanding the 126th Weather Flight. What's an aerial reconnaissance weather officer? Do they get in a plane or do they just look at the sky? I'm learning so much about everything. So, I'm checking. Captain Davis White, 53rd Weather Reconnaissance Squadron Aerial Reconnaissance Weather Officer, reads weather data during Tropical Storm Cristobal, June 5th, 2020, over the Gulf of Mexico. Importantly, he's not over the Gulf of Mexico. He's in a chair in front of a computer. The hurricane hunters were tasked to fly a fixed mission to locate the center of the tropical storm Cristobal, and the data gathered was sent to the National Hurricane Center for their weather model forecasts. What does this do? What does a weather officer do in the Air Force? I don't think they fly, though. Maybe they do. I don't know. Wait, 53rd Weather Reconnaissance Squadron. Here it is, Wikipedia. Oh, baby. Also known by its nickname Hurricane Hunters, a flying unit of the Air Force and the only DoD organization still flying into tropical storms and hurricanes. All the others figured out that was a bad plan. Aligned under the 403rd Wing of the Air Force Reserve Command, based in Mississippi, with 10 aircraft, it flies into tropical cyclones into the Atlantic Ocean, the Caribbean Sea, the Gulf of Mexico, and the Central Pacific Ocean for specific purpose of directly measuring weather data. Cool. So like some of them actually do fly into things and others sit at home, I guess. All right. Well, neat. Does she fly a plane? We already talked about what it looks like when she rides. Matt Grendel says, I miss Stephanie Abrams before she got pregnant. She had a bit of a horse face, but a dead killer body. Who's Stephanie Abrams? LCPL anime guy says, meteorologist is literally the most mock job in the military because they have it so easy. Unlike cooks, supply, motor T, and the grunts, at least to me. There you go, Rob Price with a 33-month super lawyer chat. He says, Nick, if you want a good laugh, look up Sarah Hoffman, NDP. Once you see the picture, remember this was the health minister for a while. Oh, dude, no, I've seen that giant bloated monster. I know exactly what you're talking about. Ew. Okay, we're gonna get through this. Her meteorology career. Let's see how many channels she killed. Mitchell began working with the Weather Channel in 2004. She co-anchored. Surprised she didn't anchor it herself, if you know what I'm saying. The channel's morning show, Your Weather Today, from 2004 to 2008. She then moved to co-host of Evening Edition alongside Paul Goodloe from 2008 to 2010. Weather Channel terminated her in 2011. Why? She filed a lawsuit against the channel in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Georgia in 2011, alleging that she had been terminated because the new owners disapproved of the time required by her simultaneous duties as a captain of the Air Force Reserve Command as part of the Hurricane Hunters team. I'm guessing she didn't win. She says she filed a lawsuit, not one. Al Jazeera America. In 2013, Mitchell began work on the weather team at Al Jazeera America. She delivered the weather segments in the morning from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern time and during large weather events. She was the chief meteorologist of the channel until it ceased operation on April 12th, 2016. She was with Al Jazeera all the way to the end. She delivered weather segments in the morning and suicide vests in the evening. CBS News, beginning spring 2016, Mitchell freelanced with CBS News appearing on WCBS TV in New York City, along with contributions to the national network CBS This Morning show. She also traveled south to Miami. Well, so did I. Filling in for Lizette Gonzalez at WFOR TV while she was on maternity leave. Why wasn't this chick on maternity leave? Mitchell returned to her home state of Minnesota, joined the Minneapolis-St. Paul station. She appeared on a variety of KSTP newscasts as a freelance meteorologist. She appeared on the Minnesota Public Radio show Morning Edition from November 2019 to January 2022 in the role of meteorologist alongside anchor Kathy Wurzer. Got to stop calling these women anchors. They float. On January 7th, 2022, she announced on Twitter that she was leaving NPR to explore a candidacy for the Minnesota Senate. Good job. She defeated Republican candidate Dwight Dora by winning 58.1% of the vote. Cool. She's volunteered with Big Brothers, Big Sisters of America. Big joke. Big joke. And as a court-appointed special advocate for abused and neglected children. She's a licensed foster care provider. She received her Juris Doctor. Oh, she's a lawyer. From the Georgia State University College of Law in 2010 as a member of the Minnesota Bar. Okay, never mind. Mitchell has volunteer with Wills for Heroes to provide free legal services for first responders. So there we go. Let's wow. Damn it. Where'd this dumb woman go? Hold on, I gotta find my stupid here we go. Back to this story. So that's her. I wanted to look into her history a little bit. J-Rock Gnomestein says, unfunny. Unfunny. I know you're unfunny. Why are you complaining about it? So she's currently serving her first term as a state senator. Yeah, far outside the thing. Senate Minority Leader Mark Johnson. Republican East Grand Forks said in a statement, Mitchell's alleged actions require her resignation. Quote, I understand the difficult situation her family is facing. No, she just lied about it. However, the actions taken by Senator Mitchell are disturbing. The complaint released by the Becker County attorney, but don't ever trust a prosecutor's complaint either, lays out the case of a person who took extensive preparation, H, to burglarize a family member's home. This behavior is unbecoming of a member of the legislature, and she needs to resign from the Senate immediately. Okay, I'm going to say unpopular opinion. If all politicians ever did was burgle a family member's home, we'd have a way better political class than we have now. If that's the worst that any of these fucking monsters had done, I'd reelect them every time. The main problem with her is the hypocrisy of being a politician and doing these things. But like, I would rather them do this than what they normally do. Politicians are awful people. Republican State Rep Jim Joy, who represents the district where the alleged burglary occurred, also called for Mitchell's resignation. A statement released Wednesday. Quote, for the serious crime to be perpetrated by a fellow legislator against one of my constituents is appalling. Joy said it's clearly time for Senator Mitchell to resign, put family over politics, and focus on helping her family as she faces these felony charges. No, don't encourage her. The last time she helped her family members, she burgled their house. Senate GOP files ethics complaint. Vote on motion to weigh expulsion fails. So they couldn't expel this person from the Senate. They couldn't do it. Also on Wednesday, they filed an ethics complaint. Blah, 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 blah. Boring. Because the Democrats' lack of action forced them to defend the integrity of the Senate. Integrity of a legislative branch. Okay. I'm not going to go through this shit. WCCO's Caroline Cummings reports Senator Eric Lucero, Republican from St. Michael, made a motion Wednesday afternoon to force the Rules Committee to immediately consider the ethics complaint and then weigh Mitchell's possible expulsion. Look, the last time anything weighed Mitchell, it was not good. It's not good. So I don't agree with him on that. Do not weigh this person. Everything you believe in will collapse. Let's see. Mr. Mike says Mitchell has JD from Georgia State, Minnesota Senate bio. Yeah, we read that on the Wikipedia. But yeah, this is These are the people. These are the people who elect us or who we elect to represent us. And the funny thing is, I have a couple points on this. A couple points that I want to address, like seriously, without the jokes about how much of a weirdo this person is. There's a reality here, and that's these people who rule over us are just normal people. Let's say it that way. That's the most diplomatic way I can say that. And this goes back to a point I made several times that everybody, you, me, everybody around, we're all just really a string of bad days, string of stressful situations away from being a felon. And there's, there are books out there, there are lectures about how every American commits multiple felonies a day and stuff like that. But I'm talking about the felonies that are obvious: stress, fear, a lack of a clear vision for the future, lack of a support network. All these things can take anybody from a normal citizen one day into a law-breaking person who's desperate for a thing. If we take this weirdo's like sob story, her dad died. He's got an evil, wicked stepmom who she's known since she was 4 and cares about very much or whatever. She's got this wicked stepmom who won't do anything. She's trying to get her dad stuff that mattered to him, to her. Maybe this person has Alzheimer's. Maybe this person's just a bitch, right? She's like, I can't get this stuff. This stuff matters. I don't want it sold. I don't want it ignored or thrown away in a dumpster or whatever. Like, can I just get this shit? As they get desperate and they go break in through a basement window wearing all this black attire and try to blame black people for their crimes. That's reasonable. That is stress and fear bringing people to a criminal act. They're like, this isn't even bad. Like, this stuff shouldn't even be here. It's mine. So they go try and take it, right? Everybody should be wary of the fact that that's anybody. That's any normal American. When times get fucking tough enough, people make mistakes. But everything said before the but doesn't matter, because the but's the only thing that matters. Am I right? So everything before that, just ignore. But this is a legislator who makes these rules, who makes these laws, and doesn't allow for that contemplation that a lot of criminals really are not reoffenders. They're not habitual criminals. They're not out there to like burgle every house they see. This is probably a one-time event. This woman probably didn't even consider the possibility that she's committing a felony by going into the window. She's probably like, that stepmom's a crazy bitch and she's not going to listen. I know my dad's stuff's down in the basement. I can just sneak in. I can grab some shit and I can get the fuck out. It's not a big deal. It didn't harm anybody. No, that's burglary, you dumb bitch. That's a felony. You made it a felony. Well, you probably didn't. It's your first term. But the person before you or their predecessor did. And you endorse this shit every time. You endorse these jail terms for this crazy stuff. You don't disambiguate between someone doing something that really doesn't have a lot of harm attached to it to someone who really does do a lot of harm through a burglary. Someone who comes in and points a gun at a kid, right? Like, that's a burglary that's fucking scary. This is a burglary that at the end of the day is a domestic dispute. And you know what? Fuck you. Get charged. Get felonized. Go to prison. I don't care. Everybody else would. But can we look at these rules and go, these are stupid? Like, why would you go to prison for this? She's not like actually going to do anything that merits prison time in a conceptual way. It's only prison time because they would apply it to the normal person. These are the things I take away from stories like this. I'm like, yeah, you're the people who make the rules, and even you fucking retards can't figure it out. Maybe we could start looking at how our law interacts with the citizenry. Maybe we can realize that people like Nicole Mitchell, have built so many fucking laws and rules because they don't have something else to do. Not because the laws and rules actually create an outcome of a safer or better society, or they create an outcome that deals with human nuance and pain, or with human greed and ambition in the right ways. They don't do that. They create something they can put on a slogan or on a postcard and mail it to you so you can vote for them again. But when push comes to shove, and it's the smallest push amounting to the smallest shove, this woman couldn't follow the basic fucking rules of don't break into someone's house without permission. That's it. That's all she had to not do. All she had to not do was climb in through a basement window of a house she didn't own. I don't know about you guys, but I not climb into the basement window of a house I don't own every day, all the time. I'm doing it right now. And by doing it, I mean I'm not climbing into someone else's basement window. It isn't even hard. When I go to sleep, I'm still not going to do it. I don't have to put forth any effort to not do it at all. She couldn't manage that. Why? So incensed. So fucking incensed. So broken, so hurt, so whatever. But when you bring those things up to these lawmakers and you say, but like, what about people who are in this situation? They're like, no. That's not an excuse. Their deleterious effect on other people that merits this system that we have. And you're like, but like I'm trying to, probably isn't that deleterious. Like her stepmom was a little scared because someone broke into her house. She's like, oh my God, I thought it was a Negro. Turns out it was just my daughter who's worse. And like, is she that affected? Probably not. Like in reality, nah, it's going to go away and not be a big deal after about like a week of bitching at each other. If the law wasn't involved, but now it's public. Now you got a felony charge, you dummy. And then the final point of this topic. No matter the outcome, know that Mitchell is going to get favorable treatment in the courts. Treatment that you or I wouldn't get. It's not going to be harsher because she's a state senator. It's going to be lighter. Why? Because it's public. The judge is going to be weirded out by what the political ramifications of doing this are. The judge has discretion on the punishment. Like, well, this is a state senator. It's a public servant. Even though they're fucking it up, even though they're doing this shit that's really crazy, and even though if it were a black guy named Jamal, like we'd probably put him in prison for 6-7 years. She's gonna get no jail time, 18 months probation, deferred adjudication so that the felony gets dropped as long as she doesn't burgle another house. Rob says, is that good tasting? I can't drink whiskey. This Templeton Rye, Midnight Rye, yeah, it's very good. It's not expensive either. It's like a $40-$45 for the bottle. It's not super harsh. It's not the greatest rye I've ever had, but just like a solid bottle. Yeah. But it's wild the way we look at these problems and we look at the people who are involved in these problems, and we, for some people, overemphasize the human condition, and for other people, we completely ignore it. We have an inconsistent system of justice. It's not so simple as like white versus black, rich versus not rich. It's not broken down that way. But there's definitely a caste system involving anyone who's a public servant, and they get deference like fucking crazy. And they shouldn't. Hang them from the lampposts. Because the tree of liberty should always be watered with the blood of tyrants. Not sometimes needs to be refreshed with the blood of tyrants and patriots. It should always be watered with the blood of tyrants. And if tyrants can't follow their own rules, you know me, you know my position. The term limit of an elected person should be their execution. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for hanging out. You got your 3 terms. Off with your head. Like, it should go. I don't care about you. That was your dumb choice. That's my opinion. So like with this person, yeah, hang him from the lamppost. Get rid of him. I don't care. Death to all politicians. Sic semper tyrannis. All right, guys. We're going to pop over to Rumble exclusively in just a minute here. And then I'm going to take a quick pause. I'll run upstairs. You know how it goes. And we'll carry on with the show. But here's the Rumble transition. 25 seconds. If you want to follow us over to Rumble, link is in the pin chat on YouTube and also in the description on YouTube. J-Rock Gnome saying says, how are the ceiling cats and corner demons? Oh, they're good, dude. They're good. Do you not have ceiling cats? You know how much kibble I have to throw up in the air every night? Oh my God. Hey, J-Rock. Hey. And you're like, unfunny, unfunny. We lawyers aren't funny, are we, J-Rock? Good job borrowing someone else's jokes. Just as embarrassing as when they say them. All right, guys. We'll pop over to Rumble. See you guys there. Peace.